Good morning, I'm Claire Murphy. Welcome to the Solo Bureau. I wanted to start today with a big, huge thank you to the ladies of the Sunday Lunch Reality Surfed podcast. If you haven't checked them out yet, you should. They cover Aussie pop culture and, well, it's in the title, reality TV. But they also give their recommendations, and this week they recode yours truly.
And then my second one is a daily podcast called The Solo Bureau. So people might remember Claire Murphy. She used to work at Mamma Mia and did a daily podcast. Now she's doing one on her own, and it is so good.
Sophia, Jessie, thank you, legends. Okay, so what are we up to today? Here's a question for you. Would you know if you've ever been filmed by someone wearing smart glasses? When Kmart launched a range of affordable tech that users could wear and record for just $89 recently, it put the otherwise financially restrictive tech into the hands of pretty much anyone who wanted it. But what does that mean for our privacy? Do we have any say in what those people record, and do they even have to tell us that they're filming us? We'll get those answers for you in a tick, but first up, let's get the lowdown on what's been happening while you were sleeping. It's Tuesday, August 11. Two Australian airports were forced to shut down last night on opposite sides of the country. In WA, Jandakot Airport south of Perth was forced to halt operations after lightning strikes damaged lighting cables, knocking out almost all of the runway taxiway lights. The airport is mostly used by the Royal Flying Doctor Service, the RAC Rescue Helicopter and WA Police. Meanwhile, Newcastle Airport also shut down overnight due to a Royal Australian Air Force investigation into an airfield issue. The commercial airport sits alongside the RAF base. There are no further reports as to what the issue is. After reports a body was found in a suitcase in New South Wales on the weekend, it turns out it may be a sex doll. Police released a statement yesterday saying the remains were not human, saying following forensic examinations, police confirmed the item located in the bag was a lifelike doll wearing clothing, hair and a nose piercing. Police have defended declaring that a body had been found, saying they make every effort not to disturb a potential crime scene, collecting remains for examination before understanding that they were not, in fact, human. Iran's foreign ministry says they are close to signing off on a final pact with Oman to define new shipping lanes through the Strait of Hormuz, but some technical issues on a joint statement remain unresolved. Iran has repeated that the US must meet several conditions, including compensation and an end to sanctions and military threats before the strategic waterway is reopened. The strait, through which about a fifth of global oil and liquefied natural gas flows prior to the conflict, has been effectively blocked since the US-Israeli attack on Iran, which began back in February, pushing up global oil prices and inflation. Nearly 50 people have died after a powerful 7.4 magnitude earthquake hit Western Colombia. The tremor downed buildings, leaving people trapped in the rubble. Colombia's Civil Aviation Authority said flights were suspended at airports in Pereira, Manizales, Quibdó, Armenia, Cartago and Buenaventura, while inspectors check for potential structural damage. In what is fast becoming a trend, another high-profile American is vying for a stake in an English Premier League football team. Following on from the success of actors Ryan Reynolds and Ron McElhenney, who partnered up to buy Welsh team Wrexham, Amazon founder Jeff Bezos and Facebook co-founder Eduardo Saverin are reportedly close to agreeing to a deal to acquire a stake of about a third in Premier League club Liverpool. The investment would reportedly value the club at around £4.4 billion, making one of the largest valuations of a football club deal. A long list of eccentric candidates have lined up to take on Nigel Farage at the upcoming by-election. Farage quit the position to rerun, many claiming he did so to avoid a parliamentary standards investigation into undeclared financial gifts. Farage says he did so to avoid the witch hunt and that he was confident his electorate would vote him back in. However, in what is a long-standing British tradition, a line of left-of-centre candidates have stepped up to take Farage on. The most popular is Count Binface, who, as the name suggests, wears a bin helmet, underneath which lives comedian John Harvey, who's previously challenged former PMs Theresa May, Boris Johnson and Rishi Sunak. There are also several members of the monster raving loony party, Nick the Incredible Flying Brick and Baron von Thunderclap. The Clacton by-election is happening this Thursday local time. Those are your top stories today. Next, smart glasses are now everywhere. But do you know if you've had your privacy violated? Smart glasses aren't new tech. Google Glass launched 13 years ago, but back then we weren't quite ready for it. They looked a bit stupid, and those who did wear them were often laughed at, and the word glass hole was created. But with the launch of Meta's range of smart glasses partnering with some of the coolest glasses makers in the world in Ray-Ban and Oakley, put the uncoolness of it to the side and made them a whole lot sexier. We now watch thousands of videos each day made by them. The users see a little heads-up display from their viewpoint. Tiny text, a little digital widget that's situated subtly on the edge of your field of vision. The user can record video, capture photos, take a phone call, listen to audio and view text. A virtual assistant can even translate foreign languages. They can convert text to live captions or audio played in your ear. They are incredibly intelligent tech, and they give those who might want to an incredibly easy way to violate your privacy. For example, last year, an American influencer with more than 1.3 million followers walked the eastern suburbs of Sydney, including a stint in King's Cross and on Bondi Beach, filming women without their knowledge through smart glasses. They had no idea that this man, who asked them to take them out on a date and then became quite forceful when they declined, then uploaded those interactions on the internet, where the comments sections exploded with toxic and hateful rants against these women. Many were not aware until friends and family alerted them to them. Some of those women reached out to Instagram and the creator to have the videos which they believe goes against the platform's community standards taken down, but they were unsuccessful. On Friday, after Kmart launched their $89 smart glasses, Federal Attorney General Michelle Rowland asked Australia's Privacy Commissioner to urgently review the technology. She said, "Privacy is an essential part of all our lives. It allows us to be who we are with dignity and without fear. Unlike other forms of technology, smart glasses may be used more discreetly, making it harder to know when you're being recorded." She said the government is continuing to work on the next phase of privacy reforms to ensure our privacy laws are fit for purpose in the digital age. But it feels like we keep doing this, that we start to look at the laws to help us and protect us long after the horse has bolted. Dr. Milica Stilinovic is a postdoctoral research associate at the Governing Immersive Tech Project at the University of Sydney. Millie, welcome to the Solo Bureau.
Thank you for having me, Claire.
I was just talking to you before we hit record then and mentioned that I, out in the wild, have no idea even in the slightest how many pairs of smart glasses I'm coming into contact with on a daily basis. You live in this space. Are you aware of them out when you are just walking the street these days?
No, and I have quite the eye for detail. So if that goes to say anything, that's certainly one of the things. And we need to understand that this isn't a controlled environment space in a corporate setting where we can apply these smart glasses to particular functions. It's out there in the mainstream and, as you said, out there in the wild.
So when we're talking about privacy laws, because we have the right, I mean, in public spaces it's difficult because it's almost like a free-for-all. It doesn't really matter if you're in a public space, people can film you, people can record you. But we do have some laws in place that allow us, like people can't record conversations without your consent, especially if that's then used, say, broadcast on a radio station or used in court. But does that extend to these if moments are captured and then uploaded on the internet?
It's interesting. We were mentioning this grey space, and that's exactly where we're at. So when we're looking at, for example, the overarching Privacy Act, that's looking at corporations and how they handle data, not specifically individuals or influencers, businesses. That's out for question. Then we're looking at state-on-state laws, which are kind of fragmented away from the federal space. And when we're looking at state laws, we're looking at various surveillance acts and regulations. So sure, when we're recording out in public, audio is far more protected than video capture is. And then when you're looking at this space of privacy and what is public, are we considering public to be gym changing rooms or even the gym? Filming someone who's on a treadmill without consent, or when they're semi-nude at the beach minding their own business? Do we have an assumption of privacy in these spaces that are now being violated by a really ubiquitous camera on one's face that's providing you not only access to the public space and everything in it, but access to parts of your body and access to these assumed places of privacy?
This is something that I sort of inherently knew that this is going to disproportionately impact women. I was just thinking about when you mentioned if you're at the beach just in your bikini, when we see things like on Bondi Rescue, you'll see people spot someone filming people and it's very obvious because they're holding their phone up and they're pointing it in certain directions. Even if they're trying to be covert, you can kind of know when someone is filming you. In this instance, you just have no way of knowing if someone is walking past you wearing these glasses. Are there any giveaways? Is there a light? Is there something that tells us we're being filmed?
So, in some models, because remember, not all models have camera and audio capture, in some models, aka Ray-Ban Metas, and I do believe the Ancos as well.
That's the Kmart one, right?
That's right, the $89 one. They have a blinking light in the corner. But again, it's small and it's white, so it may be really hard to spot on a really bright day. Or again, the behavior hasn't been normalized. As you were saying, if you're holding smart, putting it in your pocket or kind of leering it under your elbow, people are going to notice. But when it came to smart glasses going and filming on the beach or the pickup artistry of Bondi Rescue, you have this situation in which people are just walking around with these glasses filming and talking to women. They're talking to 5 or 6 women in the same day and then coming back the next day. Now, if you are holding a camera or a smartphone, someone's going to pick that up and alert police or someone to protect people on the beach. But because they're glasses, they don't really understand what's going on. And then you've got this dual harm that content is uploaded, comment sections are left open, and these women or whoever's being filmed is exposed to a barrage of abuse.
Can you record with these glasses if they are not on your face? Like, say someone decides to go home with somebody and there's just a pair of glasses sitting on the nightstand, which is where everyone would put their glasses generally. Can they film without them being physically on your face?
I know with the Ray-Ban Metas, no. And I know that previous iterations that there were potential to cover up the light, to put gaffer tape on top of the light or something. I know Meta's tried to stop these kinds of measures. But again, I think it's the lure of the point of view capture. That's the thing with smart glasses. I mean, you can still put the smart glasses on the smartphone on a nightstand and record what you're doing. But it's the glasses that give you that immersive experience for the viewer as well.
This is something I think a lot of us feel when it comes to images or video taken of ourselves that is then uploaded if we're in a public space. Even in a private space, I feel like there's this idea that once it hits the internet, it's too late. Someone's going to have screenshot it or screen recorded it and it's now in a million places. The idea that you can scrub it off the internet is almost impossible, and we kind of give up because it's just all a bit too hard. Is that still the case? Can we get stuff removed from the internet legally? Are there legal avenues we can pursue?
I mean, we can pursue by going to the actual tech companies to say, can you remove the content, or reach out to the person who has uploaded the content to say, can you take it down? I did not consent to this. But again, the question of that being addressed has been quite problematic in the past. As you said, once it's out there, it's really out there. And so if we're going to look at any form of regulation or guidelines or frameworks to protect people, we need to understand that this harm is coming on a dual track. One where we're looking at the consent of being recorded, and the other, the consent of that footage being aired, and globally, mind you. So it's not being stuck just in someone's living room and them watching it. It is an entire global audience.
And I guess there's that next level when I was talking before about it being disproportionately impacting women. If a woman is, say, fleeing domestic violence or, has a stalker, this technology does essentially either being used by the, perpetrator in their case, but also if someone is capturing you out in the public wearing glasses and you're not aware, and then that goes on the internet and your stalker or DV perpetrator sees it, like there's so many levels of legality and protection that are just overridden by these.
And tech has a long-standing history of harms being disproportionately skewed towards women, whether it's how the technology is designed to what harms it entails. So you rightfully mentioned this kind of stalkerish behavior through various other wearables to track down domestic violence victims and other smart glasses. The jury's still out there of whether this is going to be used in that space or that particular harm as well. And again, we're not sitting here saying that everyone who is wearing smart glasses is a pervert or trying to harm women, but perhaps they haven't considered the risks that are coming uh, through these glasses to women and to others and themselves in terms of their data.
What do we know about the data once it's uploaded to these glasses? Because it's not like it's on your phone. You do have to sort of download it onto an app from your glasses to your phone. Is that data accessible to anyone in that process?
So when we're looking at the data that's captured, we need to think of it through the lens of, okay, what essentially is the human eye and brain capturing, because smart glasses are essentially computers for the face. So smart glasses that are AI enabled are going to capture data to train large learning models. That you're going to be considering spatial data, your preferences, what you do throughout the day, where you're interacting and who, so geolocations. And then all this data is being sent towards third-party data labeling firms who are then looking at the data. Some of that data really, really private. I'm sure your audience has heard of a lot of these leaks happening in which people who were having sex were wearing these smart glasses or engaging with sex workers, exposing their identities as well. So there's quite a lot of data, in fact, more data than you probably think that is being captured.
Something I didn't consider too until I read your article is how much businesses might have to protect their privacy in this instance. Like, what if someone walks in wearing smart glasses and can see what's happening on your computer screens behind your desk, or can watch you put in a passcode to open a safe? Like, there are so many levels of things that we're just not quite sure how far and wide that is reaching.
And this pertains to the visually impaired element as well. When we're looking at that, one of the positives of this technology has been that it can assist the visually impaired, but when we're looking at that kind of data, there is that concern that someone who is visually impaired might say, "Hey, can you read my bank account details here?" Giving that essentially over to either large learning models or over to a volunteer. And in the same way, you can look at that as businesses where people might involuntarily hand over major chunks of data, or it could be picked up, as you said, by someone wearing smart glasses behind you at the bank. These are risks that have not yet been addressed and are not addressed in current regulation.
Now, I understand that on Friday, the Federal Attorney General asked the Privacy Commissioner to review this technology. Do you think there is more that we can do to try and regulate the use of this? Or are we, like we've been a little bit with AI, a fair bit behind the eight ball already?
We are behind the eight ball, and that is because of the dynamic of technologies. Technologies are running at breakneck speed, and it's really difficult for regulators and policymakers to catch up simply because the tech continues to evolve. Like AI is a great example of that. A way to approach this is to have a lot more transparency and a lot more conversation between major stakeholders. And what I mean by that is bring tech to the table, bring policymakers to the table, regulators and researchers to say, okay, we're going to release this particular technology. It has these particular capabilities. Now, we don't know exactly which harms are going to emerge from this technology, but we can see from precedents this is what has happened in the past. Perhaps we can put some safeguards to assure that the technology we're going to introduce is going to be the benefit to those who are using it, rather than it to be this situation in which societies, individuals have to protect themselves against the tech. It's quite the conundrum, to say the least, that a society has to protect itself against a technology that is essentially meant to enhance its experience.
And that seems like the case in so many different things that we deal with now, that once something is launched, or even just in our day-to-day lives, and women talk about protecting themselves from harms, it quite often is put on their shoulders to, not become a victim of something. And so I feel like this is just another one of those, like, now we're going to have to go out, and we've had this conversation, I don't know how to identify these glasses in the wild. Now I'm going to go and start Googling all the different models so they can maybe recognize them when I'm out and about, whereas I shouldn't have to do that.
Exactly right. It always seems to, again, be stacked disproportionately towards women. And given that the technology has been propagated by people like Kylie Jenner, you'd think it would be a little bit more pro-women.
I want to leave it on a note that, because we have talked about it negatively today in a slightly scary way, but I wanted to also sort of point out that there are benefits to this tech, and one of those in particular is that for people with a disability, it actually could be very beneficial to their quality of life, right?
Absolutely can be beneficial to the quality of their life. What needs to be done is to assure the safety of those who are using it, and perhaps look at ways that those who are visually impaired could potentially get them at a cheaper price point too. Companies can benefit from this particular technology as well when we're looking at applied systems. So there are benefits, but again, the harms need to be solved before the benefits can shine through.
Millie, thank you so much for talking us through this today, and maybe bringing to our attention something that we weren't fully aware of or understand yet. We really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
My pleasure, Claire. Thanks for having me.
That is it for today, team. Thanks for spending some time with the Solo Bureau today. Thank you to those who keep sending me story suggestions too. So a great one come through yesterday from Heather that I'm looking into. A massive thank you again to everyone who recommends me to their family and friends. You are absolute legends for helping spread the word on this. All right, get back to your Tuesdays. I'll catch you here tomorrow.